Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is the second part of a two-series video. This is the part where we're going to install the electrical switch and wire it up. So in the first video I said I was going to drill holes to mount it, but I'm just going to use the factory holes. I decided that's going to be best, because this is a raised panel right here, and this is the flat panel. This is raised above it. I don't want that switch rocking, so I wanted it to be sturdy. So I'm going to make a plate to go behind the door, and then bolt the actual the switch to it, and that's how it'll work. So let me do that, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So what'll happen is the switch will bolt to the back side of the plate, and that's all that, that's how it'll work. Here we are with the instructions, the wiring template, the wiring and the template. Templates here. You can see it has dimensions laid out in case you need to make a mounting bracket like I did. I made a mounting plate. In that case, what you would do is you need to transfer these measurements to your plate. This is the wiring part of it. I said it could be tricky, but it's straightforward. But a lot of people really are not real comfortable with wiring things up that have multiple terminals you have to connect to. But they're color coded: blue, brown, red, black, 1, 2, and 3. 12-volt hot feed on the red, motor wires, the blue, the brown, the ground wires, the black. Said the backing plate can be removed and used as a template for drilling the 7/32 holes. Well, that's a good idea too, to use just a back plate. So let me go ahead and take this back plate off, and I'm going to show you what's inside of this switch. This is the back side of the switch. We're going to remove these 3 screws that hold this plate on, and we're going to have a look inside of it. This is a look from the inside of that switch. It has a set of limit switches, basically, just the button press type. I thought it was the roller type. I don't know why I thought that. Maybe they used to be that way. I'm not sure why I thought that, and I said that in the previous video. But it's just the press the button. What I mean by the roller type is they had a lever pivot right here, and they had a roller on it, so something could roll or move across it, and it'll actually it will go down and actually press the button. But these don't have the rollers on it. But if you had to use the back plate as a template, you could do that just as well. You could put it on your metal that you're going to use, and you could scribe it with a pencil or a pen like this. But you would want to put, see, if you put this side up, you might actually make a mistake and use the wrong holes. So go ahead and use the side, that's the outside, and you could do a few holes like that, and that would actually be your template, and just drill those holes, and that's exactly where it would be at, your holes. If you want to know how it's wired on the inside, you can look here. The common will be the silver in color, and the normally open and normally closed contacts are the copper color terminals. Here's another look before I close it back up. You can see how it functions. There's a couple different ways you can mount this switch. You don't have to mount it using a plate. You can mount it directly to the door using these these holes are threaded here. So you could just mount it, you know, put it into the door, and then, you know, the door panel being here, the sheet metal, you could just put screws through the door if it were a flat surface to a mating surface, so it wouldn't have any rock to it. You could mount it that way, or there are probably multiple ways to mount it, but this is the way I'm mounting it, just using this plate. Here you can see how the switch corresponds to the plate. The right there you can see the numbers, normally open, normally closed. It's 2 and 3. 2, 3, normally closed, normally open. And number 1 is the common. So you go over here and you'll see 3, 2, and then a 1. Okay, so up here you can see the switch is in a different position. You know, it's basically flipped. So this common is up top, so the switch is actually flipped. So up top, without even taking that off, I know that 2 and 3 are the same as it looks up here, 2 and 3. But up here, down on the bottom, is switched, it's flipped. So, you know, the way it corresponds to that. So that's how they get the switches to operate in reverse, forward and reverse. Those 2 ways will be up or down. So here, for instance, if you press the handle down, right, rotates, and it makes that switch, and that's going to make the window go up, but you're pushing your handle down. You don't want that. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but you usually push the handle down to make the window go down. So you're just going to swap these wires. It's just you swap the polarity of those wires. The brown, well, not swap the polarity, but you're just going to swap the wires, because they're both, as they sit, they're neutral. No voltage is coming out of them. They're just sitting there. They're neutral. So you'll swap them. So now if you press the handle down, you have your 12 volts going out and going to the motor, and making it operate and go in the up position. So again, if you know it's not operating, you want it to operate, just switch the wires, and it can only operate 2 ways. So you'll be good if you just go ahead and just swap out the wires. But try to do that, work all that out before you get your door panels installed and you put the switch back in, and you know, you bolt it back in, because you're going to want to work all that out before you do all that. So you're going to have to take it back apart to actually swap the wires, because it might be pretty tight inside of the door panel, or inside of the door between the inner skin and the outer skin of the door to get inside there. So go ahead and you don't have to, but I wire it before I put it inside of the door, so I don't have to go back in and try to swap these wires if I don't like how it's you know, operating in relation to, you know, where I'm putting my switch, my handle down or up. So go ahead and work all that out, so you don't have to go back inside of the door. My next step is I have the switch outside of the vehicle. Remember, I said don't put it in until you check the actual position of the switch and see if you like it. And I'll show you what I'm talking about after I hook this electrical connector up. I've taken off the access plate at the bottom of the door, and I'm going to hook the electrical connector up. So once I do that, I'm going to hook a power source up, and we'll run the motor and see if it goes up or down. Look below, right at my feet, you can see the jump box cables. I'm using the power source of a jump box. So I have the positive hooked to the positive and the negative out there hooked to the negative. And so I'm going to hold this between my thighs, and actually the switch goes like, that's the horizontal position. So pretend this is a horizontal position, and just put the handle on it and operate it. That's down, up. I did have to see it go up, down. and that's as far as you'll have to rotate to get it to go up and down. But like I say, I did have to swap the leads because it wasn't the way I wanted it to be, but that's usually my luck. If I had got it right the first time, I would have definitely went to go play the lottery today. But the only leads that I had to swap are the brown and the blue. So I basically just I took them off and, you know, just moved the blue over to there and moved the brown over to here, and that's where they are now. So that's the only swap that you would have to do if, you know, if it's not in the direction that you want it to go in, when you press it the direction that you think you might want it to go in. But pretty straightforward. Now that I have the wires in the right polarity where I want them on the switch, what I'm going to do is what I call, I'm on strain relief. I'm going to take a wire tie and tie these together and tie these together. And so once I get my harness up in the door, I'm going to tie it to a bracket or whatever to hold it, you know, so all these wires kind of help each other stay in or stay on the terminal. So basically just, you know, take a wire tie, put them all together real tight, and that's going to help all of them stay firmly attached. So I needed to show you something about the wiring harness. You're gonna have to, well, for this truck that I'm installing in, I had to split it up, so I'm gonna have to split this up. So I'm gonna take the electrical tape off here and take the wires and just have them individually, because this is the motor harness right here. It goes to the motor, and this is the power supply, the red and the black power supply right here. So I'm gonna just split those up, because the power supply will be fed behind here, and you'll see it going through here, and it'll come out actually where the door hinge is, and it has a tie down point where you can tie it down to the hinge. So that's what I have to do, is just separate it. Now I'll show you that. Now that I have the harness separated, you can see how it's wired. It just split off into a Y from the power and the ground to go to the two separate switches. So if I separated the harnesses, as you can see, and I've put kind of like a strain relief to kind of equally distribute the strain on here between all the terminals, to try to keep them all in so they'll share the actual force if, you know, of something were to tug on this, right? So anyway, so I separated them. This is going to the motor. That's your brown and your blue, and this is going inside of the cab. So you run it through the door, and I'm gonna run mine through here and into the door hinge and go through here. Just drill a hole and put a grommet so it goes inside. Had to figure out a kind of a way to coil it up a little bit to give it a little bit of a relief when you open the door, so it's not tight or it's not too loose where to pinch. So this is how I fed it in. There's a hole back up in here on the other side of this panel that I'm tapping on. There's a hole in it, So I took the wire through the access hole and start feeding it in and go through that hole from the inside toward the outside and come through, and now it is going through where the hinge, the access hole for the hinge is, the hinge bracket or whatever you want to call it. So I'll just continue to, feed it through. I'm just going to feed it to the outside right now until I can put it's got a little clamp or whatever that you put right here, a little harness clamp. So that's what I'll put there, but I'm just going to feed it on through the cab later. You should be able to see it where it's going through. See, I'm pulling it, and you can see kind of where I'm pulling it from. It's kind of hard to see, but gives you an idea. This is the other guide channel for the felt, that the felt goes in, that the glass slides up and down in. And there's a little screw there that I need to tighten. And I'll come out a little bit and you can see where it is. The switch is mounted with a bracket. So that's as far as to travel. And you can hear it making a switch. But that's as far as it'll go. So that's how that works. Also, I noticed on the other door, and I'll go over to the door in a second, this channel is the sheet metal has split right here, and it's not attached to the bracket on the other door, passenger door. So make sure you inspect all of these. The channel, it's actually the channel for the felt, that the felt goes in. Make sure you inspect all those, because if you don't, it's going to rattle. And things like this, I have where I can put a tie wrap here. I'm going to tie that to the door skin so it doesn't rattle and it stays out of the way. Nothing should be down there anyway, but just tighten it up. And there's one up top too that I've already put there. Put another one here, so like I say, you don't get that rattle. And I'll show you on the passenger door what I'm talking about. Loose things like this. This is the broken guide channel for the glass. That's the part that the felt clips to right here. That felt comes down, clips into that, and then the glass slides up and down inside of the felt. But this will make clunks, it'll make rattles, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna weld that back. So make sure you inspect yours so you don't have to go back inside of the door if you have if it's noisy or it's not functioning properly. This part here, it could cause a rattle also. You can see that screw is loose right here, and that's the actual channel for the felt also, that the glass slides up and down this channel. That could also get in the way. It's going to set the felt out, so I'm going to have to tighten it up. Got that welded back. It's pretty sturdy. I'll take a splash of aerosol paint, Rust-Oleum, and put it on it, and to protect it, the bare metal. I got this tightened up. Had to put a stainless steel washer behind it to actually get it to tighten up where it wouldn't rattle. But so we got that situation taken care of. A good way to check a door for rattle is to tap around it and see if you're getting a little rattle. I think I'm getting a little rattle from this, but that'll be okay. The door panel will be up against it, should keep it from, keep the rattle down. But everything else looks good. Now's a good time to check your bump stop. You can see this piece of welding wire. I'm pointing to the rubber bump stop for the window channel or the frame. So it's that's what it's gonna stop on. So it's still intact and it's not dry rotted. So I'm gonna leave that alone and use it. this concludes the nu-relic electric window installation. If you want to see more videos on this truck, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, and I'll publish more videos about it, about the cruise control and other things. I'll go over in detail. I'll try to publish some more videos, things like that. But if you like it, give me a thumbs up and go ahead and subscribe to the channel to see more videos. Thanks for watching.